Hello, wonderful humans. Today I'm going to talk about one of the most hot topics of our times, about money, about wealth, about energy, about how we share life. And I really feel this is such a hot topic because it dominates our lives everywhere on this planet, and so massively and so cruelly in these times that we're living in. In many ways, it's the most important topic to look at because it runs the show. We live in a capitalistic world, and really capitalism has pretty much touched every corner of this planet in some form. And because we are so interconnected, we know we are in this massive crisis that is, in a momentum that we don't know where we're gonna land. As you know already, the ones who have watched my videos, you know that I put matriarchy as a life principle, where we put the mother principle back in the center. And so I gonna approach the topic of economy in a completely different lens. I call it Bionomy. So where we really put, again, life at the center and how we relate and how we organize our ways, how we relate to life force, like on an individual level, but also on a collective and a structural level. And I always felt like I grew up in Switzerland, which is one of the most successful economic countries in our times. So I grew up with a lot of privilege of what has happened to the planet, but also in that sense a lot of karma, a lot of responsibility that I bring with having received that privilege, of infrastructure, of education, of the whole extraction of so many other life forms that I had access to, even if I wasn't a wealthy family in that sense. I was surrounded by it. And so this is very, very, very dear to me, this topic. And I understood in my own pathway, because I always felt there's something off, like I didn't believe the Swiss story. Everything was in a way offered to me on a silver platter, like yes, with hard work, with like really deeply becoming a functional part of that system, which I felt in my being, in my body, that this is not who I am and I want to become. But I also didn't believe the story. I felt that something is off. And the more I could use my education and actually went deeper into educating myself, like really over the span of my life, the more I could see how much it is an illusion and it's just not the truth. The way how Switzerland and Europe and the whole capitalistic system is organized. It's really truly a big lie. The whole logic in itself is not coherent with life. And so what I really want to transmit today, what I want to share today and invite you to inquire, is to what is your socioeconomic reality that you were born into and grew up with, and to bring your awareness to it, like really deeply. And like take this video as an inspiration to go on your own journey and to deepen and to see what serves your understanding of what is your place in this logic that doesn't actually work. And then I want to invite you to reimagine a way of wealth that is actually attuned and aligned and deeply alive with all life forms, so for the whole planet. And I go even further, as you already know, into the cosmos, like really like what is truly ancient futuristic wealth for all life forms. Because I feel in my body, this is actually possible. Do we have to learn things? Yes, of course, many things. And also then there is, probably in some ways, the most profound processes that we need to go through deep initiations, go through deep death processes also of letting go of identity. I'm gonna take you on a journey today, but first I want to again come back to our body. So drop into your body, no matter where you are, no matter what time, space, reality you are in. Anchor yourself into your body as the most precious reality that is yours, that is you in this moment, as an alive source of the powers of life. And to really anchor that the biggest wealth that you can ever experience is here and now, in your presence, in your sensitivity, in your aliveness, in this reality. Because no matter what you're going to do out in the world, you do it through your body. You do it through your body. Why do I use the term ancient futuristic? And this is a term that I'm going to use in many different topics. Because I really feel the way of our times is a dying system. And so I don't see that we have mastered our humanness and our way how we live together with the earth and this universe. And so that's why I really feel like we have to remember our ancient and really also our ancestry, like as a source of how human became, how humanity became itself, but also like what is our true potential. And in a way also transcending the whole time-space concept and claiming, like really integrating the ancient now and the future now into now. Because when we have that gravity of like really, in a way, collapsing through time and space, we are fully here in the presence. And so I also take, that term to really as an ongoing practice. And again, like I lose myself like so many times during the day. But as a prayer and practice of like, can we really anchor ourselves into presence again and again and again, and have that as our source of everything, of every choice. And I feel it is very important to understand wealth, like really in this continuum of life force, because I feel again there's so much fragmentation and so many stories that are just not truth and not helping. We all carry different roles. Yes, we all need to survive, the animal body. We all need to survive, so we need a form like that we get our needs met, which is for most of us in these times means, okay, we get a paycheck, or we have our own business, or we are one of the few, like that we inherited, or we are like one of the few, very, very few billionaires or millionaires who don't need to work anymore. But then it's like also, how do I navigate that responsibility of life force that I have hoarded? So, because that is all about the survival. This is one piece, the survival, like. And then the second is like really we are here to really truly live our lives, which for me is really connected to our souls. So it's like really also enjoying life and to have the experiences, which in so many ways, like it's so amazing what we have created, co-created in our times. Like there's so many amazing experiences. And so really to have that vast opening of possibilities, what we humans can experience on this planet is a very precious, but again, the way how we do it is very distorted because it's killing us and so many life forms. But this really, okay, we want to live, we want to experience, we want to be fully here. And then we want to also, consciously or unconsciously, we want to be a good a good ancestor, or we want to become a good ancestor, so that our existence actually creates a meaning for the future, and that we're really serving life. And how, very often, because most of us are not very conscious about those different realities at the same time, and the way how capitalism is created creates a lot of stress to bring that into those things together, because the logic in itself is not designed that this is brought together. It's designed of to create extraction for the moment and for a few. It's its inherent design. So you really have to understand that with this existing system, we cannot create a unity that actually creates wealth for all life forms, and in that sense also peace and harmony. It always creates injustice and just a lot of suffering. And we know that a lot of wars and a lot of things that actually people don't want to do, they do because of money and because of power, because of the need to have some kind of an importance, like, oh, I matter. So let me look at all these different things. There's already the tragedy that we need so much out form so that we feel like we matter, like so much confirmation. Is it through status, like of a car, of power, of like whatever it is, that I feel like, oh, okay, now I got the confirmation that I matter and that I have agency to create, do things, to have freedom. So there it already starts. Like, and again, this comes back to the rematriation, because it's like really when I don't have experienced that love from my mother and from my father and from my siblings and from my tribe, that I matter so deeply just because I exist, and not because I have this and that and that and that, but just because I am here. This distortion that is collectively, like really as a big virus running the show in our times, does not have a ground, because the values of our relationality that we ultimately so deeply yearn for is not based in what I have, but it's based in just in my pure existence. So there is this, like we have a completely different need and a completely different, like it changes the whole tissue of relating and of identity. And then on the second, the power, again, like if I only need to develop some kind of power over, because inside there's something where I feel powerless, where I feel inadequate, where I feel like, not seen, not heard, not felt, I cannot experience that what is alive for me, what I'm doing actually matters. So again, if we are really in this deep interconnected relational tissue of a matriarchy, where everyone matters, because we understand that we are an emerging, interconnected movement, then I have a very different listening of like, okay, what is my role in this organism? And in finding that and attuning where I listen deeply to my soul, like truly to my essence, there I can make a completely different choice of where I want to give my life force. And again, there's a receiving and a giving. I can give and I can receive. And that also is then goes together with the survival, because there is a deep understanding that life is a flow of abundance. Like, yes, life has cycles and rhythms, and there is not like, what we have in our economic structure, that there's infinite growth and interest and all these things that just don't make sense, because it's not how life works. In life we have rhythms, we have cycles, we need, we have different stages, and we need pauses, we need seasons. So it's all about really attuning to that. And again, also as humans, we understand there is the abundance of life, but it has a different intelligence, a different wisdom. So to reconnect with the ancient futuristic wealth, where all life forms can actually be themselves, and where we, really have a conscious co-creation, means also to attune, like, what do I truly need? Who am I truly? What do I truly need? The things that are produced right now, there's so much fake consumption that doesn't really nurture us, like it in food, but also in information, in relationships, in activities, and where there's a lot about this status that I can get somewhere, so that I am someone, so that I get the love and the presence and the acknowledgement, like, oh, I exist and I matter. And what it creates, what it wields, like, for so many other life forms, so much suffering. And it's just so absurd. Like, what if we really understand we need to shift deep within our understanding of value? And again, that comes in our context of relationality. We can experience our value when we have relationships where our true value of being us is seen, felt, received, shared, and then the whole material pervertity that is present is just changing, and it has to change. It really has to change. We have to change our understanding of value. It cannot be that killing creates for a few so much value, and just letting life doing its thing has no value, which is in our economic system, that's what's going on. And then we wonder, like, why we are in this craziness that we are in the mass extinction, and in the suffering, and in the wars, and in the, so many people suffer just to have their everyday life met in some kind of decency. And again, also there, the survivor, now very primal things of food, which is like our survival on this planet, and shelter. And if we look at our food industry and our home situation, it's just absolutely crazy. We are not in right relationship. Why do we not have really so much more like true wealth in a matriarchal understanding, in an ancient futuristic way, is when we have an alive biome everywhere on this planet, with different seasons, but with a richness, like where we really see the interconnectedness of humans, of animals, of plants, of minerals, of spirits, and that there is a cycle and a relationality in every direction, where really yeah, everyone is alive, where the water is rich in minerals, where it can flow freely. So in the matriarchal practices, we really go back into like, okay, is our water flowing freely and naturally? Are our soils healthy? Is our air healthy? How do we build, like the way how we build, the way how we consume, is that actually going back into a natural state afterwards, so that it, is just in this cyclic understanding? Can we build in a way that really truly is attuned, in which climates we live, and also what kind of souls we are? So I'm deeply interested, and that is what we're also gonna do and practice and inquire on our land here in Brazil. I want to build my own house, and also other houses and temples and birthing houses and concert halls that are really truly aligned in a biomimetic, or with the wisdom of life, in a biomimetic way, and with materials that are really, attuned to the surrounding. And again, not in perfectionism, for sure, already that I use this device is not in this way. So of course I'm gonna do things that are not aligned with that. Actually, it's getting really hot. I need to turn on quickly the AC, which I normally, because I am now here, this is real life story, I'm here with the ancestors, or with the family of my husband, Brazilian husband, and they have built, and bless them, like really truly, if you listen to it, bless you, so much love. But where they're living, where we can stay now for some time, it's not in a way built that I can regulate myself well. So I use also an AC right now, so like really to keep it very real and down to earth, because it's very hot. Especially for my Viking and Middle European being that I am. So yes, like really again, like this is a real life example, like of, can we build houses that are attuned to the climate we're living in? And we are in this big question of climate change. So what does that mean for building? I feel there we need to learn also to reimagine and rethink. And I've studied also permaculture, and one of the really deep things that I take with me is like that we come from an era of our grandparents that was very labor intensive, where we had a lot, and also before, but our ancestors, there was a lot of labor, a lot of like really working with the body. And then with the industrialization, it is very energy intensive, like it's a lot of using fossil fuels and energy. And what this ancient futuristic way is demanding is like really deeply attuned design, so that we use the experience that we have made now as different societies, and can really start to think and feel in a very life attuned way and design it in that way. So this is for me also ancient futuristic wealth, that we can really bring all the information together, because we're living in the times of, we have never had access to so much information. But in a way, what we need to learn now is how can we use the different informations and bring it in the right relationship? How can we bring it into where it really truly serves life? And that means that we all have to go through a process of shifting our value understanding. And in that sense also our identity. Can we, also a simplification, because the way how we even the one who are the 1% successful on the top of the pyramid, our way of being is not sustainable. It's not like we are in a death, in a hospice of modernity, and we really have to bring it in with gracefully to an end. And so in that sense, we all are invited to see okay, what does that mean for my socio-economic group? A big part, what I feel what is my responsibility as a Swiss, Dutch, European woman that has had the privilege to travel and to learn, is really to educate myself, to understand the logics that we are swimming in, and then to see how can I pierce through, how can I really create something else, which I'm doing with the temple village that we are birthing here in Brazil, with the Māa'ru, with the Matriarch Collective, and also with the Singularity political party. How can I pierce through into the coming ages, into the coming times? How can I become a good ancestor? How can I use what I've received and serve? And so a lot is really creating these models, but also really educate. And in a way, these videos are part of that. And I fully own that I'm a bit clumsy and a bit all over the place, and it's mixed between information and emotionality and real life. But in a way, I wanna take you and see that I am in this process, and so can you. It is a messy process when we really start to change and to transform, and to, in a way, because the logic in itself is so strong and wants us to function in a certain way, of the existing dominant cultures. So it takes that in between space where we are willing to sit with discomfort, to sit with questions, to sit with reflections in a very real, embodied way. And so this is also an invitation for you, how could this look for you in your real life experience, that you could serve life and become the one in your system, or one of the ones in your system that is saying hey, enough, we're gonna change, we're gonna really reattune our way of being, our way of living, our way of thinking and feeling. We're gonna pause and gonna reconnect with our body and gonna fully feel, also feel the horror and feel the sadness and feel the pain, but also feel then the joy and feel the beauty and feel the wonder of this life and of being here now, and to start to really reconnect. And from that source, there will a different intelligence start to become more alive. And I want to deepen the quest around wealth and what I really understand as true wealth, and what the matriarchal pathway is here to create as wealth. And it is really peace and harmony and beauty in its organic realness, where we understand, and we know that all children know that, and we also still have it somewhere in us, even if we have so much cultural programming. But in us underneath, we know, we can see the beauty of a fish, the beauty of a leaf, of a mountain, of a sunset, of water that is flowing naturally, of wrinkles, of the hands of our grandmother. We can feel when there's organic, real life is there, and what it creates, like really as a collective, that we really feel like, oh wow, here is something still intact, you know, from a biome, from a biological reality to human crafts, but also human intelligence. I'm not saying that we cannot use like all the experiences that we have made. No, absolutely, let's use, you know, technology and machines in like AI also, that we can liberate all of us, that we can come back into just the beauty of existing. And AI will, I feel AI will help us to, you know, because it takes so much labor of us. That we have to learn also, like, who are we if we're not like in this constant survival? Okay, I have to work, I have to work, I have to work so that I have a permission to exist. But where we understand, like, okay, we can actually, you know, work in a rhythm that is actually healthy, that is actually spacious, that we, this is again the designing our lives in a way, and designing our societies and our structures in a way that we can truly, fully like enjoy this human experience, and that we don't need to destroy so much life forms and suffer so much and so much pain and so much, you know. And for that, we all need to feel like, okay, what is really, where can I start to practice that? Where can I start to live that? Where can I let go? What kind of consumption can I let go? What kind of pattern do I need to break? What kind of rhythm do I need to establish? So that I can become, you know, that I can survive, that I can be fully enjoying this human experience, and that I can serve life, all of life. And sometimes, like I know for myself, these are very deep processes. And it's really good if you have there someone who helps you to go through these deep processes. Because in a way, capitalism is still running so dominantly, because we are constantly in this like, oh, okay, I need, so that. And it's really there to have the courage and the consistency, like to say, like, stop. I'm not just gonna run in this maze, you know, so that it's running, but to really pause, come back, go into nature, like even if it's go for a month, go for a year, like really go into simplicity and listen. Again, listening. There is another video where I talk about the listening. To listen, like, who am I truly, and what is my true service to life? What is my true purpose? Where this all come together. And so sometimes it really needs, or most of the time, it needs a lot of patience also. You know, that, and to see like how can that, you know, how can I do a step like really following my soul, but then, oh shit, then I'm confronted with my existential fears, and you know, to really look for containers where that is held, and where that is witnessed, and where that is grieved, and where that is felt. And so that this can come together. It's like, in a way, like the fragmentation of, you know, of our way of living, like really to bring it back into integration. And again, there's so much we can learn from indigenous people, so much. It's like so crazy that we call indigenous, you know, tribes primitive, because there's in so many ways, like what their own wording is, like, we are the little brother, little sister. And it's so true, because so many of these tribes, they have lived in harmony and peace and in wealth, in a different way, of course, than what we understand, with life, with nature, with each other. And so there's so much that we can learn. And I'm not saying, like, also myself, I don't want to go and live, you know, completely in the jungle. Like, there have been phases in my life also that I, you know, went there for a certain period. It's a good, very good initiation, and I want to keep on doing that, and I want to keep on learning. But also I like to have a, you know, certain lifestyle. But can I start to really listen? What is that emerging ancient futuristic wealth, and understand that like I am one bacteria in the biome. And also there, like one big thing that I actually didn't speak yet to is how crazy that we understand wealth as something individual, and that that there's someone who is on the top of the pyramid. Like, it's, for me, wealth can only actually truly be wealth when it is a shared experience, like really ultimately as the whole planet, that we can really see that we actually can live with nature and with each other, with ourselves, really truly in harmony. But also, just if we have bigger spaces or smaller spaces of coherence, there true wealth starts to pulse and be alive. So the biggest shift that is needed, I feel, is like really to shift our understanding of values, and not in this individual gained status, externalized, now I am someone and I have power and I have freedom, but really understanding true freedom and true wealth and true power is only in the aliveness of togetherness with all life forms. Like, really, we have not done our work enough as humans when we think that we humans can, we are at the top of the chain. It's just a big illusion. But truly, that we understand that we are nature, we are one with earth, and that starting to grow our own food, to really live with the different life forms in a very intimate, real, everyday way, is something that actually is most fulfilling, most nurturing, and most healing, and most joyful. Of course, not in the way how our ancestors did it with this. Okay, my grandmother, and again, bless her, she was also a farmer, and in my family also farmers, not only, but like this hardworking. Okay, not in this way, but with the soulful and using our intelligence in a collective. And if we can start to use technology and these devices really as an expression of the success, as a collective success, like we can actually start to share information freely and cross-pollinating different cultures and places, then we start to to act like the synergy, the synthesis. And that also will need a lot of repair work. We need a lot of collective repair for all the violence, systematic violence that has happened in the past. Name it slavery, colonization, the whole the way how monoculture has impacted our soils and our cultures so much, and still is happening. The wars. All of this needs repair so that we can really understand, like, come back to the wealth that life actually is in its wholeness. So it's all about coming back to right relationship and on this really the true identity of soul, where it's not survival, where it's like really the survival soul and being an ancestor comes into harmony, comes within us and in our cultures and in our whatever we practice comes into harmony. These are deep processes. These are very deep processes, but they are so necessary, because if that is not at the core of our cultural shift, I don't see really a big future of the sense making of humanity on this planet. And I'm an optimist. I'm also realistic, but I'm an optimist and I'm a big dreamer and a big visionary. but I'm also seeing, what is really, what does it need to come into reality, and what does it really need to be as a everyday, down to earth practice, collectively, individually, but also collectively. But in that sense, like really, open your box that you are in this story of our times, and start to unpack it, but really with the full range, take time to really listen, go into a decolonization process, dream, vision, grief, like all these things are important, and see what can you do, what can you change, how can you shift through your embodied truth in this moment, today, in the next 10 days, in the next 100 days, so that you survive in a beautiful way, soulfully, and that you can become a true, meaningful ancestor for all of life. Ask me questions when you listen to that. I really love when I receive questions, practical questions, concrete questions, and then see how I can make another video around that. And come to Brazil, come to the matriarchal collective of Māa'ru, and be part of Singularity Political Party, so that we can bring, these deep processes, these deep truths, these deep realities, also on a structural level everywhere on this planet, and not in a monoculture way, but really there's so many different ways, but it happens through true humans who become alive, and who connect them, with their own soul, and be inspired and real. Okay. I send you so much love, and let's remember the multidimensional wealth that we are all together, here and now. Much love.